Hi there, and welcome to Inside the Wooniverse, a podcast brought to you from the corner of Fringe and Maine. And I'm your host, Colette Baron-Reid. Joining us today is world-renowned Qigong Master and Healer, the best-selling author, Robert Peng, and he is amazing. I can hardly wait to introduce him to all of you. Robert began training at 8 years old, and by the age of 15, he endured a 100-day water fast. I mean, this story is wild. He'll tell us about it later, but it initiated a radical spiritual transformation and his amazing healing powers, of which I have had an experience, which I'll share with you guys later on too. It's just so outrageous. Anyway, for those who don't know, Robert is capable of generating healing energy through his hands with power equal to a potent electrical charge. He is a regular presenter at the Omega Institute, Kripalu Center for Yoga and Health, Esalen Institute, and many other organizations and schools. And he is the author of The Master Key, Qigong Secrets for Vitality, Love, and Wisdom. For the last nearly 30 years, he's been teaching and helping countless people around the globe regain their optimum health and vitality. And we are so grateful that he is with us today. Welcome, Robert.
Thank you, Colette. Thank you. So happy to see you again. Yeah, thank you for the invitation. Yeah.
Okay, before we talk about your past, which I really want to dive into, I want to mention something because in the introduction, I said that you're capable of generating healing energy through your hands with power equal to a potent electrical charge. Now, I have had that firsthand experience. I don't know if you remember, but I met you in New York, and a mutual friend had, or a client of yours actually had, introduced us. So I came for a healing session, and you put your finger on my third eye and on my chin and zapped me. And it was like, I literally felt like you took electricity and threw it into my body, and you made a joke. This is how I was introduced to you. You kind of looked at me and said, "See, no cords." and you started laughing, and I was like, "Holy crap, who is this guy?" And I'll never forget, because I had a problem walking, and I walked 37 blocks after the session with you. I was so energized. I was so blown away. And then my husband and I went to one of your workshops, which I'll share again later. But I have had firsthand experience with this. I find this outrageous and amazing. So let's go to the very beginning of how the heck all this happened. So let's go back to Hunan province in China, to little Robert, and how did you bridge that you to this you?
Okay, thank you. Well, you're so great at introductions. You already brought me into the story of Far, Far Away. Yeah. Well, actually, a lot of people ask me, because Qigong, spelled as Qigong, sometimes they spell it as Chikung. They're all the same thing. Traditionally, it's a lot like Tai Chi. They have lineage. They have family lineage. Yeah. So a lot of people ask me, did you get it from your parents or grandparents? As a matter of fact, no. Actually, I got it from not family. My family doesn't know this kind of practice at all. It was from someone very special, very special. Because when I was 8 years old, I had a kind of symptom, the chest pain. Well, I still don't know what it's called now because they didn't tell me, or they don't have no diagnosis. The symptom was that I have severe pain, especially when I like run. As a little kids, you cannot stop running because you always want to run, especially if I jump, from a little higher place, even just like a few inches lower, then it's like someone is punching in my heart. Very painful. So my mother and father brought me to the doctor one after another. They gave me prescriptions, but it didn't help. Yeah. So in the end, the doctor gave me the best prescription. He said to my mom, he said, "It seems that your son need to have a break, meaning rest more." Yeah. Even he had to stop the school. So quit the school for like half a year to see how that works. When I heard this, what? Yes, because when you're boy, you hated school. then, then I was staying at home, supposed to stay at home, resting, sleeping, doing some reading. Then I find this best prescription is the most horrible one, because I've never had those kind of time that when you like I was alone at home. It's horrible. And I say, oh, I was so bored, so bored. So I put up for 3 days. In the end, I say, I have to go out. Yeah. So I sneak out because my mother said, no, stay at home. Yeah. Then I sneak out. Then not far from away from home is about 2 minutes walking distance. Like it's a beautiful campus. And it used to be um, like a section, like a hotel, very high-end hotel for the Soviet Union engineers. Because in 1958, China and Soviet Union are very good, have good relationship.
Right.
So they send engineers to my hometown to build up iron and steel plant. Yeah,
Okay.
we have 20,000 workers, and together with all the families, it's about 100,000 people. So those 100,000 people is like a little town. And that place is the most beautiful place because all the others are quite primitive. There they have fruit trees, they have swimming pool, surrounded by brick wall. And the doorkeeper was very like serious looking old man, guard the door. With little kids are not allowed to go freely. Adults okay because they behave. So for us, it's a sacred place. It's a beautiful place. It's a mysterious place. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Then afterwards, we broke up. Yeah, we broke up with the Soviet Union. Then they left. Then of course that is like reception, VIP reception. We kids, we actually went there many times, either accompanied by the adults when we do some of the baths. They have like hot water shower there, or we climb over the wall with like another 5, 6 kids. Then we jump in it, coming back. So we did this a lot. But since I got sick, I did much less. And also, it's just for fun of climbing and jumping. Then I said, I want to go there again. So I went, climbed the wall, jumping, very, very painful. I couldn't care, right? So I just get in there and I began to walk around, go to the swimming pool. This, I don't know why, I was just drawn there. I want to go more details before we just get hot water and go. It is a boiling room. The boiling room is like a house size, yeah, because all the others villas, the hot water was supplied by here by the
Mhm.
huge like water pipes to pipe them the hot water. Then I went there and then peep through the door of the boiler room. Then I see a middle-aged man was shoveling the coal into the burner.
Yep.
Yeah, then he turned around, he saw me. Boiler room is also like mysterious. I said, "Oh, you want to watch the fire, right?" I said, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, I know it. Yeah. Come in, yeah, don't get burned." That's the first greeting. And this middle-aged man, actually, he was about 85 at that time, but he looks like so young. He was my master. Yeah, that's the mad master. Of course, to start with, we didn't get in right away. He's just like chatting. Why did you go to school? I said, well, I have a serious chest pain. I have to stay at home. And then after he heard this, later I recall, but at that time I was a bit surprised. He stopped for nearly 2 minutes, just gazing at me, like looking. Later I know he was doing the healing through his gazing power. Yeah.
Mhm.
Then after chatting, then about 2 hours, I was looking at the fire, and then I can watch the fire for hours. It's like meditation. So I feel so good. Then when we left, he said, "Well, feel free to come again, right? Whenever you like." Then, of course, I came back again and again every day. Then until I think a few weeks, I couldn't remember exact days, but it's some time later. One day from nowhere, he said, "Do you like wushu?" Wushu means martial art. Yeah, in Chinese word, wushu. "Do you like wushu?" I said, "Yes, I like it." As a boy, yeah, who say no? Yeah. "Do you want to learn it?" "Yes, of course. Nobody teaches me. I couldn't find a teacher." "I can teach you." I said, "You know wushu?" "Of course, you know." Yeah, because he looks so ordinary. He looks
Right.
like so kind and mild. Nobody will associate him as like like very strong martial artist. Well, actually, he's a like top martial artist.
Top
Yeah,
martial
top
artist.
martial artist. If you have because in his story later he can freeze a wild bull because the bull are beginning to hurt people. He go there on his forehead, and they freeze it, foam going out, and
Wow.
he has to heal it right away because that bull is farmer's bull. For
Oh, you're talking about a
living
bull.
on it, yeah, for them to plow the field, he frees it
Mhm.
from him stop him from hurting people. Meanwhile, he can still do the healing right away. At that time, I have no idea, no idea. He said, "You can do that? Well, you'll see later." Then a few disciplines. First, come here every day at 5 o'clock. Yeah, no late, 1 minute. No problem. Yeah, of course I can. Second, yeah, don't tell anybody. This is the most important because that is the peak time of Cultural Revolution. Yeah, Cultural Revolution started in 1966, and then they're getting more and more serious. Then a lot of religion were banned. A lot of traditional practice were banned. A lot of movies are banned. We have only maybe the whole year we have 2 movies made or one movie, political movie. So it's very, very serious time, very boring time, and
Okay. And
also
how old were you?
I was 8 years old, 72.
You're 8.
Yeah.
Okay. 1972.
Yeah. So long story short, then then I began to practice with him. Yeah, very diligently. I kept secret even from my parents and my brothers from to start. Then one day my mother was a bit concerned. They say, "What on earth did all these days that you get up so early, then you disappear for a few hours, coming home hungry, right?" And then I was I was not. I, I said, "Well, I was jogging. I was jogging," and they're not convinced. Yeah. Later, I
Mhm.
told my master, I said, "Well, my parents are concerned." Then he thought a little while. Then they said, "Well, ask your parents to come to see me tonight." Then my parents went to visit him, feeling a bit strange. I said, "Why?" Because the master attendant, they know there's a boiler room attendant, very kind people. That's all they know. Why did they invite me to visit him in his boiler room, which is his home also? But after 2 hours, they were talking. I was waiting outside. I was not going inside. I didn't know what my master showed them. But when they got out, they're very excited, nervous a little bit. I said, "Oh, man, follow the master, follow the master. Yeah, go with them. We support you. We keep secret for you too." Yeah, and then they kept secret for us, for me even. And also, I think even before that, I got healed already. Yeah, got healed.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask. That you would have noticed that he healed you and you were no longer in pain, etcetera. So
One day, my mother asked me, say, "Oh, poor boy, how's your chest pain?" I said, "Chest pain? "Oh, yeah, it's gone. Healed on it. Yeah, we've done. Nothing happens." It's- But there's another thing. They're so convinced. Yeah, they're so convinced. So they say, "Well, we'll support you." Yeah. Then I begin to be more free. Yeah, I don't have to lie to them. Yeah, and then I practice.
mhm.
And I remember the ever first practice as taught me was horse stance. Just standing there, bending the
Right.
knees, focus on dantian. It's grueling. 15 minutes. Actually, after 2 minutes, you begin to feel the thighs are like burning charcoal. Then one day, then I have to do it every day. Before he taught me some fancy things, martial art, eagle claws, iron fist, all this. Then one day when I was doing the horse stance in the morning, after a little while, I got in a trance. It feels somebody is putting a chair under my butt. Then
Right.
the trance, like I forgot the time. When I returned, my master was very happy. He says, "Whoa, you go through the crisis, like you went to another level, because the guardian chi that exude from your lower dantian are getting so much powerful." He said, "Normal small, like normal punch or stick hit on you won't hurt you." Yeah.
I'm gonna stop you right there because I wanna ask you a question. So you mentioned dantian. What is that? Just for the listeners.
Yeah, dantian is, we call it elixir field, where three dantians, upper dantian, middle dantian, lower dantian, they collect different kind of energy.
Okay.
of energy where the energy that is associated in the upper dantian uh, provides you with wisdom, the wisdom
Right.
energy, like your energy to decide. When you energy strong here,
Mhm.
you're guided. It's like you have
Mhm.
like a GPS in your life of your car of the life. When you should turn left, you should turn right. When should you buy this
Yeah.
stock or the other stock? So
Yeah.
people are good with wisdom chi. They are smarter. Yeah, that's
Okay.
one. We call it upper dantian. Then we have middle dantian is connected with emotions and loving. When here the energy is strong and healthy, you feel loving and loved, like you have a Buddha heart, right? Buddha heart.
Yes.
And but when it's weak, then that Buddha heart becomes like a fragile glass heart, broken easily, or is very broken because you feel vulnerable, you feel sad
Mhm.
easily. Yeah. Then extensions are the arm. You know, when we meet an old friend, what do you like to do? You want to hug them
Hug
because
them.
the loving chi are expressed in many ways. That's one way to express the loving chi. And
Uh-huh.
then you don't hug your friend like with your legs, right? Because they
Right,
are
no.
different, right? You kick them, right? Because they function differently. Because they are connected with the lower dantian, which is vitality,
Right.
vitality power. Your sexual energy, your burst power, that was stored here. When it is strong and healthy, you feel you're strong. You feel you're dynamic. You are sexy, charismatic. All of this are here, are here. Then the legs are the extension of lower dantian that make you connect with the earth chi, so I'm more grounded, healthy, and very strong at taking actions.
Was that the purpose of him having you do you called it the horse stance?
Yeah,
Um,
like riding a horse,
Riding a horse, right, and
like this,
yet
standing like this.
wow.
Wow, you do all this kind of forms. Folks on here very tight, very
Mhm.
strong. We say guardian chi, the immune system are based on here.
Wow. So
Also, I think the
interesting.
purpose he taught me is like to do me the healing too, because no matter how strong, how powerful his healing energy is, it's always good that I build up my own healing power. So he's taught me this, and then it's not only healing myself, but making me myself like resilient, quite strong.
Mhm.
So after a few months after I keep practicing, I think 3 months after, he test me. They say, "Good, yeah, you're much more protected." Then amazingly, he got a sledgehammer on the corner
Ah,
of the of his boiler room. He said, "Stay there." He was like sweat, hit on my belly,
with a sledgehammer.
sledgehammer. Yeah,
He hit you in your belly with a
yeah.
sledgehammer,
There's
okay,
no hurting.
and it didn't hurt you.
Yeah. So he said, "Well, keep going." Then he began to teach more different forms. He's very happy. This what the bulletproof. That is bulletproof of energies are formed. You're not only good with this resistance of being hurt, but also a lot of like we say, if you get caught in a shower outside
Mhm.
together with wind, it's very easy to get cold. But because the guardian chi are strong, it's like you have invisible clothes to adjust the body temperature. You know, one of the show we did a lot when we were young was that we got the chopsticks. Yeah.
I've seen you do that in a workshop too. I mean, I was, like,
Did I
completely
do it?
blown
I
away.
forgot.
Yes, you did. Well, you sure did.
Because I
You did a
stopped
lot
doing
of
it for a long
things.
time. Yeah, the
Yes, you
show grew.
have.
Thank
Yes.
you.
So he taught you so basically, let's kind of get it in layman's terms.
Mhm,
So so basically what he taught you is how to use your energy in such a way that you were, like you called it, bulletproof,
mhm.
that in the most vulnerable parts of your body that normally a normal person or a person who doesn't know how to do that would stick a chopstick in this part
But
and
Hill,
basically kill themselves, right? Yes, I get that. I know exactly what you just did. And
mm,
you scared me when you did it in the workshop because I was like, oh, this guy's going to kill himself. But no, I mean, it is amazing. So this person who is obviously an master of Qigong
mhm.
became your master. And how many years did you study with him? Because I've actually seen the evidence of all of this firsthand and I'm incredibly amazed. And then there's still the Cultural Revolution. So you have to
Yeah,
hide,
we're
right?
still there.
Yes.
Yeah, we're still there. We were together for like every single day together, living together nearly, which is like for nearly 10 years. 10
10
years.
years.
One day he had like a conversation. He said, "Well, for all these years, I've taught you different forms of Qigong, martial arts, breathing, meditation. All this will give you a good way of doing martial art. Well, I give you the choices. You can keep on going with martial art. I can teach you more. Yeah, teach you more. Then you may get involved with some competition. You can be famous.
Mhm.
Yeah, and you can join a lot of competition. Well, the best example at that time he didn't say. I just put on here
Yeah.
is Jet Li. Right, Jet Li is
Oh, sure,
only
Jet Li,
1 year
uh-huh.
older than I. He won championship when he was 14 in Beijing
Oh,
in a row for 3 years. Then when he was, I think, about 16, 17, then a movie director in Hong Kong found him and then made a big movie, Shaolin Temple.
yeah,
Shaolin.
we've seen all the Jet Li movies.
Yes, that is the early one. That is the first ever.
Yeah, the Shaolin Temple, big
It got
bestseller.
famous overnight. Yeah. So if I'm keeping this way, that is like the top I can do, right?
Mhm.
Then he said, well, another one is more hermit, is more not so public, but more internal journey. You can use the same energy I taught you and transfer it into a healing power.
Yeah.
He was so democratic. This was not like a master saying things. He said, I give you a few days to consider. Yeah. Either way, I'm happy to guide you. I, at that time, actually already witnessed a few times, many times, that some neighbors, some friends visited him. Some people already know he has healing power among very small circles, and how grateful people were when they are
Mhm.
like healed. So when he asked me to think about for a few days, I didn't waste a second. I said, I don't want to wait. I want to do the healing. I can feel the relief of my master. I think he intentionally likes me to take the second choice. And I said, great.
Right.
Then he began to stop teaching me all the martial arts. Then he began to tell me more kind of breathing and meditations, guiding the energy along the meridians that they can project the energies. Fast forward a few days more, then in 1979, well, the Cultural Revolution finished in 1976. Then it took a
Mhm.
few years, you reform, you wake up, right? Then in 1979, he got a telegram from the abbey of his monastery, telling him to return, to reconstruct the monastery. He said, ringed. Then he showed me the telegram. He said, I have to leave now. My God, I was so sad, because all this 72 to 79 is like how many years? He said 7 or 8 years, nearly 10 years. We were together every single day. So it goes so fast. It was so beautiful because
Mhm.
after I started practicing my heart, I began to live double life, going to school and return practice with him. Nobody knew I was doing this, and life is so beautiful to me. And so I thought this is internal. As a little boy, you don't think it was changed. Then all of a sudden, say he's going to leave. I was so sad. So I told my parents. Then my parents prepared some gift for him. Yeah, a bag for him to carry some stuff. Then we would send him through the train station back to the monastery. After that, I began to visit him, about twice a year in my summer or winter vacation. So then the very, like you mentioned, my very sacred time was happening when I visited him. Second time I visited him in the monastery, because after all these years of training, he knows that I need another transformation. In his words, it's a changing your body, not physically,
Right.
mentally.
Mhm.
So on the second trip, I visited him. I was expecting some wonderful time, for a few months, together with all the little monks, because they are in the mountain. They have beautiful trees, and everything
Mhm.
is so attractive. But when I arrived that night, he said, "Well, we're going to do Biguan." Biguan, he mentioned many times. Biguan is silent, dark retreat.
Silent dark retreat.
Yeah, I was expecting and also alone. He said, "We're going to be gone tonight." Right? Boom. So I said, "Okay, good." Of course, I was excited about this. Then he brought me to the basement of the temple. They have a very underground basement, winding. Then they have a few chambers, or say room, yeah, a few rooms for the retreat. Dark, no light. Then there's one place for toilets. Yeah, sure.
Right?
But
Yeah.
when I was there, I was the only one, and he brought me to one of the little chamber. It's about several feet long and wide. And then he said, "You stay here." Yeah,
For how long?
100 days.
Oh, this is the 100-day. Oh,
Days.
wow.
And the only light I could see was the lit incense holding in his hands, because he come to visit me every day, instructed me for half an hour, 1 hour, then he'll go. Then he will put that sticks in a bowl with the eyes, then you just stick on it. That goes for another 1 hour, 2 hours, then disappear, pitch dark. So what I practice is in the darkness, even including the movement practices, I do in the darkness. Yeah,
Wow.
he come every day, every day. Then of course after a few days, I begin lost what day it is. I think about the first 20 days is not really just water. 3 jujube a day. Jujube is like Chinese days because zhao.
Chinese dates?
Yeah,
Okay.
Chinese days. It's not that sweet, and then that's the meal for your day. So actually that trained me very, very elaborate ways of mindful eating.
Oh,
Because when I
interesting.
first
Okay.
eat it, I put finish. Yeah, even if I
Right.
did some mindful eating in the monastery,
Mhm.
I didn't think about that. Then I thought, my God, I finished my meal already. One meal. Then the second one, I begin to chew it very mindfully, watch it very mindfully. Then for some time, you begin to get very insightful. The insightfulness bring me to the root of how these dates come from. The trees, like chronological reverse of the time. Amazing. It brings you the another dimension of the world. Beautiful things. Then after 20 days, just pure water. Water is enough. They have a big jar in the corridor there, and that's it. No, nothing.
So 80 days, no food, just water,
Uh,
and you in the dark,
yeah, for not 80 days, because
or close in yeah.
the last 15, he began to come back. First, give me some little juice, then after a few days, give me a little peach. Yeah. So like
Uh-huh.
gradually allow my stomach to get used to the normal life again. So very, very strict.
Mhm.
60, 70 days. Yeah.
That was life transforming for you, and that gave you some extraordinary insight when you were there,
Yeah.
and that you now teach people. So let's kind of segue from all of this experience, and then you had to leave China
Mm,
at some let's pass a little bit further,
mm.
and then you came, and so how did everything that you learned inform the work that you do now?
Yeah. Well, what we mentioned, the zapping power, zaps,
The zapping
actually
power,
it
yes.
is sharpened during this 100 days.
Yes.
So
Mhm.
when I was doing this, I think in the middle of the time, about 60 days sometime,
Mhm.
my breathing are getting so slow, very slow, very slow, very slow. Like normally you do 3, 4, 5, 8, 10 even breath a minute. But if you do one breath in half an hour, it's like you're
One
not,
breath in half an
yeah,
hour. Oh my
it's like
god.
you're not doing breathing at all. We call it small death. Yeah, the small death.
Small
Because
death.
this is a time if you don't have a sustainable energy to keep it going, that
Mhm.
can collapse, then you passed away. You would die. Then the small death will be the big death. But also it's the very critical time to like to shift dimensions of energy that you're gonna have higher connections, then
Mhm.
you are like resourceful energies constantly, not just generating from yourself, but you are like connected with the high energy. Along Yangtze River, there are a few like very steep cliffs, and there are many like caves out there. One of the mythology says is that some practitioners they do meditation there, they do retreat, they
Mhm.
do biguan themselves, because they
Mhm.
have no people to take care. Then
Yep.
they just go there. Then the wolves, the tigers cannot reach there because it's on the cliff, right?
Mhm.
Uh, and then they may be gone. They don't care. When they are reaching
Mhm.
that level, the death is like it's not the thing matter to them. They die quickly and happily. Anyway, but that is the turning point. They call it small death, big life, because life are totally different ways. That was I begin to feel a few things amazing. One is that I feel I was so strong, so strong. I can grab my fingers on the floor, which is the dirt floor. I can just go. It's like a machine. You can get the whole
Right. Mhm.
handful of the earth in it, which normally they're very hardened. Uh, so I feel like it's like a tiger is strong. But meanwhile, the other amazing thing is that I feel light because you're so powerful. I feel light. Then the third amazing thing is the zapping power. I can I I can feel myself because when I focus, all the meridians through this kind of fasting, they are wide open. They are
Mhm.
all off the blockages. So it's like super expressways for you to send the chi. So as soon as I think about my fingers, yeah,
Mhm.
I can even hear the chi just like zapping here.
Yeah, I heard it. When you touched my
Yeah,
forehead and my it was my chin and my forehead, I will never it was just like yesterday, even though it was 10 years ago.
yeah,
But, I remember what it felt like. It was as if I was receiving energy that then went through me. It was coming through the points, but
mhm.
went somewhere else too. Like, it was the weirdest feeling. I've never had any feeling like that ever again either, but it was like you electrocuted me, but in a really good way.
Like
I don't
a
know how else to say
cable.
that. Like, in a good way. It
Yeah.
was uncanny. I've like, that's incredible, but I understand now what you're saying is that doing all of these, kind of sensory deprivation is what you did in the basement there, and then doing all these exercises, being able to stop your breathing to the point where, we to get to be almost superhuman in a way, right? Now, you teach this to people because I've been in one of your workshops where
Mhm.
you taught us how to change the properties of liquid, and we did it.
Yeah.
We were there for 4 days, and at the end of it, I was absolutely in shock. So by all of these kind of techniques, you showed us that we were capable through in a way it was a prayer, like prayer to and reverence to this energy, this
Mhm.
this divine energy, that we could turn basically water into wine. Or I think it was in this case, really for my husband, he had really bad some type of terrible liquor that they could turn into, like, the most amazing thing, but I can only speak for myself because I don't drink alcohol, but you gave me this awful, awful cherry, like, bitter cherry juice, and I was able to turn it into this sweet juice. It was
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah.
So and I say weird because it's not something that any of us really know, but yet the human being in a very short period of time can do extraordinary things. So let's segue from you learning these healing techniques, and you also had to master your own body, right? And then when did you decide to come over to North America
Uh-huh.
um, to teach
Yeah.
as well?
Okay. I can send my energy to wherever I want to send to heal these organs. But meanwhile, my master said, don't use it too much yet. Actually, don't use it because you're still too young. Your energy is not so anchored and stabilized. Keep quiet. Simmer in the chi. Yeah, that's what is simmering the qi for another decades. Yeah,
Wow.
until more mature. So I obeyed on him until I was about 28. My master, he said, I have no other requirement. I have. He has a vision. He said, I feel someday you're going to make qigong really like have some missions to make qigong more accessible to
Mhm.
all the people. He said, you should have an education. Yeah, meaning you should go to the university. No matter, I said, no matter what you major, science, technology, or uh, science of art, you should go to university. Then I said, wow, I love English. Why don't I go to University of English? So I studied very hard, majoring in English for years. And then after I graduated, the English teacher are so rare at that time because we closed the door for 20 years. So as soon as I finished the university, my dean asked me, he said, are you happy to stay in the university teaching English?
Mm.
I said, how can I, right? Because normally you need to have a master degree to teach bachelor
Yeah.
degree students. I have only a bachelor degree, but because it's so rare, he said, it's okay. Then we are standing on the stage teaching English to my students. I was like a dead sentence the night before because I was so nervous, right? Oh my God. I put every single word I think I'm going to say on the paper, right? But of
Uh-huh.
course, actually, in the end, my English class was very popular too because I applied some of my meditations in it. And my students loves me because I'm like brothers to them. 'Cause I'm
Yep.
only a few years or even just 1 year
And
older
all
than
your
them.
students
Yeah,
still love you today.
yeah. Thank you. And in 28, I began to teach public in the campus. Then I began to find in the campus it's too small. Yeah, because all
Oh,
like
you started teaching Qigong in a campus?
yeah, teaching
Yeah, okay,
qigong.
yeah.
My because the spare time, like for the hobby
Right,
of my students, the science,
right.
and also the students from other department that I don't know. We put a little poster. Then we have like 50 people, 100 people enrolled for 3 months of training,
That's
which
cool.
is beautiful. Then, like this kind of demonstration, we put the spear on here and break the
Put
spear. We put the bricks here, smash on head. All this kind of uh, eyes opening, kind of very frightening demonstrations. Of course,
yeah.
very interested. But meanwhile, this one time I was doing like because I have to do overnight of closing ceremony at midnight. The president of the university came in trying to stop us. I said, why? Because he was afraid that that is dangerous. I said, there's no
Oh.
dangerous. We know. Anyway, so there's some kind of energy they don't want you to be too open, not to open. That made me to think with another colleague. I said, well, we may need to go out to the bigger society. And it
Mhm.
happened that in Hainan, which is southern south of China, is like I like island, and also they're more open to the Western world. So I said we should go there. There's no limitations. So we begin to go there. Uh, Actually, within 5 years, I trained more than 150,000 students there. Yeah.
Mhm.
Meanwhile, a lot of VIPs came to visit us, and among them was like Bob Hawke. Sadly, he passed away 3 years ago. He was the Prime Minister of Australia. Also,
Right,
yeah,
and his daughter had
yeah,
cancer, right? Because you had
uh,
worked with her.
chronic fatigue syndrome.
Oh, chronic
Yeah,
fatigue, sorry about
yeah.
that.
So he was among the VIP list to visit me. So when he was very open too, when he got the treatment, when he saw the demonstration, he was so excited. He said, "You should go to Australia. They have beautiful land there, beautiful cheetah." He's trying to influence me, but
Uh-huh.
I was so busy with the training in the island. As every now and then we go to the mainland teaching, there was I have no time. Yeah. Then meanwhile, the second thing he said, well, he mentioned about his daughter. He has three kids. Three kids. This is the eldest daughter, Su Hawk. he said he got chronic fatigue syndrome. It causes from the blood. For her first delivery of her baby, he lost a lot of blood, and after that, the blood are the qi, are the liquid qi. So he was very low with energy, especially in wintertime. She may stay in her bed for a couple of months, very hot to
Wow.
get up. Then he said, well, can you treat her? I said, well, we can try. I have never heard even the name of
Mhm.
chronic fatigue syndrome. I say, put it down. Then I have to look at the dictionary. What does chronic fatigue syndrome mean, right?
Mhm.
And then I said, well, we can have a try. So he flew he flew her to the land for the treatment. So we did her treatment almost every single day because I have the team. I have my disciples, I have my colleagues. We arranged to do her treatment special.
Mhm.
Then I taught her the Qigong at the same time. 1 month. She's like 10 years younger.
I know I read her testimonial, after I got to know you. It was amazing. She said you changed her life.
Yeah, when she returned, she was like, people couldn't recognize her because before that, she's like dry skin, hair is like no shiny. And so they said, well, what happened? So he said, well, I had a Qigong. I learned Qigong. He just had Qigong sessions. So he told her friends. Then, of course, her father was prime minister. So the newspapers and the magazines interviewed and reported on the first one is Women's Weekly. That's one of the
Mhm.
best magazines in Australia. Then thousands of phone calls and letters wrote her. Then she said, Robert, you should come to Australia. We have big calls for you. Then I said, well,
Sure.
let's wait. That was in 1994. 1994. So we waited for a few years until 97 when I was more settled. Then we made
Yep.
the trip with another colleague. That's how we made the trip to Australia. At first, I thought I was just going to stay there for a few months, teaching some Qigong. Then it was really beautiful country,
Yep.
beautiful people, beautiful country. She arranged like a few activities that really grabbed me. Yeah. And then in the end, after 3 months, I said, well, how do you like it? I said, we like it. Do you want to stay longer? I said, yes. Yeah, in a few years, we trained about 10,000 people. And then I settled. I get my permanent residency there afterwards. After working with us, I love it. So we stayed there. We decided to stay there permanently. That's the story of Australia. Then how about America? Why I turned out to be here in America?
Right.
That's another funny thing.
Let's go there. Let's
Yeah.
How did you get to America?
Then one day I got a call from Sue. He said, well, we, we, we got a stranger coming and asked to see you. Is it possible? She said she's from America. I said, do you want to see her? I say, okay, I have nothing to do. Okay. Although it's my day off, it just feel like I'll make the trip. So I drove 40 minutes to Sue's house. I heard the doorbell. I opened the door. In front of me was not someone. A big bunch of flowers was first in the door. Then behind it's a beautiful blonde, yeah, lady, beautiful voice. I said, "Oh, Robert, yeah, there's a flower for you." Then, of course, we get in. Then you begin to tell my stories. Together with her was a cameraman. She was on her way to make a documentary. She got ovarian cancer. Then there's a call for her to say, "Well, she needs some spiritual guidance." And then she said, on my recovery from chemotherapy, from operations, she said, I feel I like to explore some spiritual place.
Is this the woman that brought you to the US? Because I know that
Yeah,
because I remember one of the 2 I remember the story that there was a woman that had cancer that, had an awakening with you, and then she arranged for you to go to the United States,
that's
correct?
right.
Because
That's
that's
correct.
how I met you,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
is
yeah. That's
yes.
because she lives in Manhattan. After a couple of sessions, she said, Robert, you should go to New York. Are you happy to go to New York to, to see some people? I said, of course, yeah, because I'm quite open. I said, well, I'm excited to travel to America. She arranged like 20, 50 people, I think, within a few days for me to see. Yeah. And
Yep.
I met,
We all had a wild experience, I'm
yeah,
sure.
different races. Like when I was in China, I met several, you know, uh, people from foreign countries. In Australia, I met a lot more. But when I was in New York, within just 1 week, people maybe from 20, 30 different countries from some place I never heard of. And afterwards, she said, Robert, you should come here again. You have your patients here. But after a few years, I began to feel it's really challenging to arrange
To
different
travel.
places.
Mhm.
Yeah. Then in the end, I decided, well, I have to stay here. So I began to apply the working visa, then permanent residency. Of course, another big, big reason that I stayed in America, not Australia, is that I married Dumei, my wife.
Yeah.
We made home in America. I began to spend my time full time in America teaching Qigong. Met a lot of colleagues, people interested, people open. I was so happy that I made the decisions to stay.
Well, you've changed a lot of lives, that's for sure. So, we've all had the past couple of years where the concept of our health has been have obviously come up quite hugely for everybody since the pandemic. So, do you have any techniques that you know? Well, obviously, we could buy your book, and we can take one of your online courses too. That can really help us train
Yeah.
ourselves in some of these things. But what would be one of your suggestions for people to help boost their immune system, given that we know that
Mhm.
what you teach is that we are energy, we are just energy,
Mm,
and that we can cultivate a relationship to the energy
mm,
in such a way that would keep us healthy as well as provide us longevity. So,
mhm.
can you speak a little bit to that?
Yeah. Well, like at the beginning, I mentioned about three dantians. Yeah, these three
Yep,
dantians, the lower dantian goes with our immune system the strongest because that's the body part. That is
right.
the emotional part. That is the spirituality part. So, uh, of course, they're all working together through
Hmm.
another beautiful channel we call the central meridian. So the central meridian is the one that harmonizes them. So you're not having one too big overpower the others. Yeah.
Sure.
So we call it four golden wheels, or we
The
say
four golden
four
wheels.
golden
Okay.
wheels, and we also call it the master key of our dynamic happiness. That's what my book
Ah,
is about. The master key
yep.
is because you have all these four golden wheels moving harmoniously. Then practice Qigong. I cannot guarantee or promise you to be rich, but the good thing is that no matter whether you're rich or not, you're a happy person.
Hmm.
Yeah, enjoy the best health, the balanced emotion, and some enlightened degrees
Hmm.
of spirituality. That's through the central meridian of harmonizing to make us connected with heaven chi and earth chi.
Hmm.
And talking about the immune system, that is taking care of the whole four golden wheels, then you focus on lower dantian. So
Hmm.
uh, without any qigong practice, always bring your awareness to your lower dantian, which is like 3 fingers below. There's the entrance to go to the center of the core of lower torso. Just put your hands there. Yeah. Or tap your
So on your lap, is it basically on your lap or in front of your groin?
uh, yes, in between uh, pelvic bones and navel. That is the place that you put the
Oh,
palm, the middle of the palm
I see.
on there.
Okay.
Uh, that is like a furnace,
A furnace.
a
Okay.
furnace to warm up your vitality chi. And when that is very it kept warm here, then they begin to exude layers and layers of nourishing chi. The layers of nourishing can even go out. That is the layer we call it guardian chi. The
Mhm.
guardian chi.
Guardianship.
Yeah,
Okay.
the guardian chi include immune system.
Correct me if I'm wrong,
Yeah.
but I think you've recorded a number of these now that people can buy these courses
Mhm.
on your website. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Is the
Well, four golden wheel is for balancing.
four golden wheels for balancing and then
Yeah, another one is for cycles. For
4
for
cycles?
for four golden wheels, 15, 60 minutes of practice. Yeah, you feel very balanced because they take care of four. Then
Mhm.
another exercise is for cycles. For cycles
Okay.
are what Shaolin Temple, I mentioned the Jet Li's movie.
Gently,
Shaolin Temple is famous for martial monks.
okay.
Actually, before it was not. Bodhidharma, he went to China teaching Zen Buddhism. Then he
Okay.
find a lot of monks are very sickly. Then he said, no, 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 no. If you want to have a good spirituality, you should have a good container, which is good body.
Right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But at that time, like this is more than 1,000 years ago, people, the monks, they don't take care of the body. They think body is a smelly corpse. We just want to have spirituality. The body
You're right.
suffer, no problem. But he said, no, no, no. You should have a good container to hold good spirituality. Then he began to
Right.
teach in Shaolin Temple the practices that can make the immune system strong, make them healthy to start with. And then that group develops more comprehensively and become to be a big trend of martial monk. So a lot of martial
Ah.
monks are based on there. Of course, you want to be a martial monk, you should have a very strong body and very strong gut and chi. So among them, there are two beautiful exercises for them to build on. One is 4 cycles. That's the one I mentioned. Another practice to build up not only your gut and chi, but also make it very flexible, very
Mhm.
changing tendon fascia. We call it Yi Jing Jing, changing tendon fascia. That
Mhm.
is 14 weeks of online course, which I'm doing now. Normally I do twice a year. So these
I need that.
two, yeah, twice a year because it lasts for 14 weeks. Yeah.
Mhm.
And these are the two practices very well to build up the immune system.
This is fascinating. You know what I'd love to do is pull an oracle card, and yeah, we're going to pull an oracle card and see what the Wooniverse. We're going to see what the Wooniverse
Mm.
would like us to talk about. Maybe there's one thing that the cards could reflect about qigong,
Okay.
and let's see. This is the Shaman's Dream Oracle, and the card. Oh, the card is called Whale Song, and it's the word is resonating.
Uh-huh.
So, and resonating is about being in alignment. So, I'd love for you to expound a little bit more about what alignment means to you.
Mm. Oh, okay. Alignment, in my understanding, is the thorough connections. We're all
Right.
we we are in living in this world with so many layers of connection. First, our body are connected through all the organs to compose it one. Yeah. And we're connected with the universal energies. Even if you don't practice Qigong, you're connected with the universal energies through the way of breathing, drinking, eating. Well, think about it. That's the way you connect with the universal energies in the way of
Mhm.
digestion with your different organs, right? But the real, like with a spiritual level, or even now they begin to talk about quantum physics. Yeah, the
Mhm.
very refined level of connections should go to your consciousness. Yeah,
Mhm.
to that level. Then when you reach that level, that opens much more layer or dimensions of connections way beyond this world, or that's what is manifested as a physical body. You have a lot of layers of energy body. Yeah. So
Mhm.
when we are teaching, we're also uh, 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 practicing. We always remind our practitioners to open up, open every tiny pore of yourself, as fine as you think of, not only
Mhm.
cells, but also much refined by the cells. When you open, then the universal qis are flooding in. So every time it's like a spring cleaning of
Mhm.
energies, then you are refreshed, but also uh, backed up by the universal energy. No matter how huge energy we have, we're born with, but if you're just using it, you're going to exhaust it sooner or later. That's why when I teach, I always bring the awareness of the central meridian. Because when the
Mhm.
master was teaching me, he said, always bring awareness to your central meridian. Always nourish your chi. That is lower dantian. together with the central meridian, the energy channel to connect with heaven and earth, is that anytime you bring awareness to your central meridian, you are the center of the universe. Then
And you're bringing the universal energy through you so that you're not just using your own generated energy, which it can be depleted, right?
right, it's only not
Yeah.
only this, but also because sometimes they say, "Oh, the center of the I'm the center of the universe." Am I too self-centered? That is wrong understanding. Yeah, because
Mhm.
we are living with our consciousness, like the consciousness make the world for us. Everybody has his own universe.
Hmm.
Through the connection of universe, you manifest, then you find this universe is beautiful. It's through your own projections of consciousness. But the problem now a lot of people, they're trying to use the other's consciousness, wrongly assuming it is their own. Then
Right.
you lose yourself and thinking that is yours. That is like just a shadow. When that is changed, because people will change, then you get lost. You get lose the root. That's why my master said, "You have your own universe. Everybody has his own universe. You stick on your own universe, then we get along with each other through the merging of part of the universe." Yeah.
Right, which is
Make
about resonating.
that's the resonate, yeah.
That's the
Resonate.
resonating.
Some people you feel so strong resonate because that's the part you
Yeah.
merge more. Some you have a little bit, then you feel, oh, ordinary friend, closer friend, family, yeah, all getting closer and closer.
Yeah.
Some people you feel you can make you that's the friend of your life in terms of
Uh-huh.
energy because they are more dimensional, connecting together. Then you feel very home because that is resonating your own
Mhm.
universe.
I love this. Ugh, this is so fascinating. So, we're going to switch gears and we're going to travel into another dimension, another universe in the Wooniverse. we're going to, it's called the Tea Time After Party. And this is where we kick up some fun and we ask you silly questions. And we have a lot of fun getting to know you in a way that maybe we might not.
Mhm.
And we're introducing here Connie Deletti, our executive producer.
Hello.
Hi, Connie.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey, Connie. Okay, so we're gonna. Why don't you start, Connie, and you can ask the first question.
Sure. Okay. So, Robert, would you say, is your most unusual talent?
Besides zapping people,
I know. I was just going to say,
I
I feel like
that's pretty unusual. I'm
that's
going to tell you,
an
this guy knows how to
incredible.
do some pretty wild
Yes.
things.
I'm going to say incredible talent. Do you have any other zapping type of talents or something that you like to do that other people go, whoa, that's amazing?
Well, what Colette said, zapping power, I think uh, they make people really think, oh, yeah, there's something special. But
Mm.
for me, myself, I think uh, if you say talent, uh, I think the humbleness. Yeah, the humbleness.
Humbleness.
Ah,
Yeah,
Okay.
humility.
Love
yeah.
that. Yeah.
Because
That's actually true. I know you, so it's so true. You're very humble.
It-
I don't want to call it because when you call it, then you're not humble, right? But yeah, because everybody is just ordinary human beings.
Mhm.
Even if
Mhm.
you develop in a spirituality, uh, the thing is that you are special is because you show something that people think you're special. In the end, you're not special. Yeah,
Mm.
that's
Uh-huh.
what I learned from my master because you know, he lost his kingdom, that which is
Yeah.
his monastery. Yeah,
Mhm.
like Dalai Lama lost his kingdom,
Mhm.
Yeah.
but you can see that Dalai Lama has the most beautiful smile,
Mhm.
Yeah, and he's funny.
funny,
Mm.
humor.
You're very funny.
My master, he is like this. He can has a million reason to be angry, to be
Mm.
Yeah.
like always blaming or a
Mhm.
complaining person, but I've seen none.
Wow.
He's like
Yeah.
always peaceful. When
Mm.
people coming, he's like to serve. He looks ordinary. So that's what I
Mm.
want to copy. Maybe not humble is not good. You want to
Ordinary.
be ordinary,
Beautiful.
like everybody. When you're ordinary, you begin to really feel the real joy,
Mm.
not from some special treat, but
Oh,
from the way
Love
that
that. Love that.
you are breathing. Right.
I love that. I love that you say that a talent that you have is 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 about being ordinary and but reveling in the ordinary, which is true, which is actually very true, and being peaceful in that and being and celebrating that. What you have done though that was extraordinary that I would like to speak on because you won't, because you are humble. Okay, Connie, you're never going to believe this. All right, so and listeners, you have to hear this because I've seen it with my own eyes. We took a $1 bill. I got up on stage with him and we touched a $1, just a dollar bill. Okay. You know what a dollar bill feels like? It's just this flippy little, a used dollar bill is like this little soft piece of paper.
Yeah.
He took the dollar bill, he sliced a chopstick, a chopstick with a dollar bill in half, like this. I mean, we see he does all these wild things with dollar bills. The point that I'm trying to make about Robert, that I'd like to point out at this moment, he could have said this. Oh, I can take a dollar bill and slice a big brick or slice a chopstick with it. But instead, what he felt was this amazing talent was the capacity to see beauty in the ordinary. Okay, I have another question. If you could only eat one dish for the rest of your life, what would it be? Now, I happen to know his wife is a great cook. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
since she's
yeah,
going to listen to this, it better be something she made.
yeah, yeah. That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Well, that is a hard question because there's so many beautiful things. Beautiful things. Uh, I I may say something really not permanent, but for this moment.
Okay, for this moment.
When I was young, one of my big dreams, it sounds not healthy, but is to eat chocolate.
Eat chocolate, okay.
Well, because when we were young, the first time I ever had a piece of chocolate, you know how old I was? I was 14.
Wow.
Chocolate, 14. Think about before that, non-chocolate.
Wow.
I just heard it in the movie, in the Albanian
Wow.
movie. Yeah. And because the little boy shouting,
Yes.
screaming on the street, I'm selling, candy, chocolate candy, whatever candy. That's the one we heard.
So you just lost yourself in the chocolate.
Strange. It is a bit strange, but it's fascinating. Yeah. Then my big dream is that someday I want to eat chocolate until like it's too much. Until like
until you
Overdo
throw
it.
up.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
Well,
thanks
of
for
course.
sharing
Okay,
that,
yeah.
Mr.
Yeah,
Healer.
of course, that dream already finished multiple times until now. When chocolate comes, I will say, is it dark chocolate or milk chocolate?
Right.
We're going to be
What's your
very
favorite?
fussy about it. Right?
So, last question. If you were going to be frozen tomorrow for a one-way, 1,000-year interstellar voyage, what would you most want to communicate and to whom before you leave?
Well, I say to my wife, yeah. Yeah, can you wait for that long
Yeah.
for me to return? Oh, yes, frozen, you're going to side here and talking to, not a plant, talking to a piece of ice. Can you put up with that?
Oh my God, that's so sweet.
That's cute.
That's very sweet.
Oh my God. Actually, Connie, do one more. You came up with some really great. That was cute.
Okay, how about this one? On the count of 3, Robert, say one word that comes to you. Okay, just with the first word that comes to you. 1, 2, 3.
Qi.
Gee.
Qi.
I love that.
Yeah, Qigong's Qi. Yeah, Qigong.
Yes.
Yeah,
Qi.
because that's my life. Yeah, that's everybody's life. Qi is most
Yes.
energies.
What a wonderful, wonderful time to spend with you today. For more information about Robert and his courses and his classes and offerings, and I am telling you, if you can take a class with him, even learning a little, only learned a little in 4 days. It was life-changing, and I can't wait to do it again. Anyway, you can visit him at robertpeng.com. He is a best-selling author. I believe it's with Sounds True. Is that correct, Robert? Yeah.
That's true.
So he's very popular on Sounds True. You can go to their website as well. So, and a transcript of this conversation, highlights, and more links can be found on our show notes page. Thank you, Robert, for joining us today. This was such a treat. I could listen to you talk about your stories all day long. And I really hope our listeners run to your website, buy your book, take your courses, because you really are such an extraordinary human. And I'm so honored to know you and to call you friend.
Thank you, Colette. Thank you so much. Thank you. It was such great fun, right? And amazing. I have to say, you both, amazing interviewer.
So, wow, Robert Peng, fascinating, fascinating conversation. And the question I always ask for all of us is, what did we learn today? And I'm going to just leave it at, we are more than we know. And if you want to know more about what you can do, go to robertpeng.com. That's for sure. Anyway, thanks for listening. We're Inside the Wooniverse with Colette Baron-Reid. Until next time, be well.